I think that's a really good question that a lot of people struggle with, where they feel like they're seeing or experiencing unwanted behavior with the horse and they want a clean-cut, neat packaged answer. The problem that I find is that many people are getting fixated on the unwanted behavior rather than recognizing the root sources or causes of it. And usually there's multiple things that are contributing to the unwanted response in the horse. And I'm going to talk more about this in my live on this upcoming Saturday. So I'm just going to give a really short synopsis in answering this question. The reason why I share assessment videos is to help people break down the behaviors that they're seeing or that they're not seeing, or maybe that they haven't put value to from how the horse is communicating. This information is what tells us what needs to be addressed. So in this particular video with this rescue mare, where she is defensive towards spatial pressure, the human pressure, physical pressure, she has anticipation, she has insecurity. If you watch the following two videos that I posted after this one with her in the halter, there's two of them loose in the pasture. All of this is giving me information as to where to start with the horse. And what I take away from that is how much mental, I'm going to say, avoidance and fleeing she constantly has. So if I were to offer people a clean cut, neatly packaged, step 1, 2, 3, here is how you fix the unwanted behavior, it would take in no consideration for all the feedback that the horse is telling us. And if the way in which we are communicating to try and fix an unwanted behavior is causing the horse more concern, and we don't recognize that, then the manner in which we're communicating is teaching the horse to offer an increased unwanted behavioral response, whatever that may be, or it may evolve from one unwanted behavior into another. And this is why it is so difficult that the illusion of what most people are taught as far as what is horse training through repetitious behaviors, through ego-based approaches of deciding if a horse is being respectful or disrespectful, or the constant chasing of the horse to disengage or make them move their feet, is completely not acknowledging where that horse's mindset is. And so in the case of working with this horse and all horses, I have to say, in this moment when we're in a session, where is her brain? And if her brain can't acknowledge me, or it shows that it's fearful of the human, I have to start with re-engaging her curiosity. Now, for most people, that answer is not comfortable. That answer is not nicely packaged. That answer doesn't give you a time frame as far as this is how long it will take to train your horse to give you a certain response. And so most people bail, and they resort to something that is convenient for the human to impose upon the horse, usually through repetition, until the horse either submits and becomes obedient without the human ever recognizing that they're really just creating future unwanted defensive behaviors that just haven't come out yet, or the horse becomes more resistant, and then people judge the horse and say bad horse. So part of why it matters of engaging the horse's brain is because when the horse is so fearful of the human, if I were just to start, let's say in the case of this original video where she's on the halter, and just start moving her around and trying to force her to stand in one spot, to teach her to stand, because most people are looking at the final response of, I want my horse to stand still, or I want my horse to be okay with being tied, or whatever it may be, then we are ignoring the fact that the way in which you are imposing your communication, the horse isn't acknowledging you. She may yield physically, but mentally, she's not learning, she's not thinking, she's not trying, she's not searching, she's not adapting, she's not building her confidence, and you're certainly not building her trust if you just sort of randomly impose communication because you have an agenda of wanting to work on something. And so the short answer is we have to meet the horse with where they're currently at. And despite me wanting to help the horse feel better about physical pressure, the first thing I have to start with is, how does she feel about spatial pressure and human interaction? Because if she's fearful of the human interaction, every single time that I go in to try and teach her something, it is going to be filtered with her having a degree of mental avoidance and constant mental flee. So how much can she actually acknowledge, learn, search, and try for what I'm asking of her? She can't, which is why so many horses fail out of training programs, because the way in which people are imposing training methods is out of human convenience and not what these horses need. So we start with engaging that horse's mind from when she's loose. We help her become confident in being able to think and search and try, which means we have to offer her time to do so. We can't be on this human convenient agenda of in a session or 2 sessions she has to learn X, Y, and Z. Many times we have unreasonable assumptions and impositions that we put on these horses that we then teach them more fearful behaviors for the future. And then once that horse isn't fearful, then we have to go back and start at the basics of re-education of how she feels about physical pressure. But when you're starting with a horse who's not constantly trying to flee and avoid you, whether it's mentally or physically, then you have a chance of giving them new experiences as you're reintroducing things like using lead rope pressure to direct their brain and then their body movement. So everything is connected, but it's not a clean-cut answer. And for most people to, I'm going to say, increase their understanding and the way in which they interact with the horse, everything I just explained takes far too much commitment, and people tend to bail and they resort to clean cut, where you can buy the DVD and you can learn the 7 steps of how to make the horse listen, which you think it's working out until the day it doesn't. Because that's much easier for the human time, effort, energy, commitment, or so on, and it seems to get results until it doesn't.